There you go. Now step in the middle of it.
On November 21st, 1999, Tyler was involved in a horrific automobile crash. Tyler made a decision to get in a car that did not have enough seatbelts for all 5 teenage passengers. A few minutes later, the driver lost control of the vehicle and struck a telephone pole as they drove over 70 miles per hour. Tyler would take the brunt of the impact. 10 years later, it's an impact that he still feels every minute of every day. 21 surgeries later, it's an impact that has changed his life forever. This is Tyler's story.
I got in the back seat of my friend's car. There wasn't enough seatbelts. I just piled in the last one in. He had just had his driver's license for 2 weeks. He was excited to try and catch some air on these hills. We were all nervous. None of us wanted to say anything because he was older. We started coming back down, doing about 70 miles an hour, kind of weaving in and out of both lanes because we were the only car on the road. Right about here, we were on this side of the road. We saw our car coming up, so we shot back over here. Hydroplaned a little bit. Got off the side of the road over here, right where this red and white little gate is. Started doing 360s, about 75 miles an hour, and slammed into that telephone pole up there by the white sign. So this is exactly how I hit, right here. So my hip and my pelvis took the entire pole. Those pieces, those disintegrated into nothing. So the pieces flew up and cut open every organ you could think of. My bladder, my stomach, my kidney wasn't even on anything. It was just dangling somewhere. An artery, liver, everything you could think of, my intestines, everything inside of me was shredded because of those pieces just flew up and cut them open. My hips, my femurs, everything in me was just busted. Trying to move, the only things that weren't broken were my arms, so I was just, I didn't know I was in them. My head hit the pole and then hit everything else in the car, so when the ambulance got there, I was in a coma on the scene of the crash. They didn't even have to really sedate me. I was in the hospital for 4 months. And the only reason I was is because my brain injury didn't let my body heal correctly. I suffered a severe brain injury, actually. I lost my memory, which is why I stutter all the time, which is why I can't ever remember anything. I had to relearn everything you could think of, how to talk, how to walk, how to feed myself. I had a tube in my belly for 1.5 years. I wore diapers for the first year of high school, 2 years of high school. I had to relearn everything a baby has to learn at the age of 15. Just started all over from scratch, who my family was, who I was, what their voices sounded like, what my favorite color was again, which changes every day, by the way. Everything a person has to know, I had to relearn. It was horrible. It was horrible. Still to this day, I have to relearn everything, basically. Not my sentences, not how to drive, not how to write, but who I am. I sometimes forget what I look like. I have to look in the mirror all the time. And if I could go back and change everything, I would. I would in a second, but the reality of life is you can't. So I have to live a life full of compensation because of this 1 second, this one bad second.
After years of surgeries and rehabilitation, Tyler was asked by one of his trauma nurses to share his story with a high-risk driving class. It was here that Tyler discovered his passion for speaking, for sharing his story. He didn't want anyone to experience what he was going through.
I love talking to the kids and adults too, but teenagers especially. I love talking to them because they listen to me. I'm not another police officer coming in to tell them a story. I'm not a driving instructor, just another day in class. I am a unique individual who has lived a life that you hear books about, you hear stories about, I have lived that painful life. and I came through it. I'm still going through it. It's something I'll live with and die with, but you know, I come through with stories that can really hit these teenagers where it counts.
About his accident.
So one thing I always ask teenagers is, you guys, you know, you all think you're really cool, don't you? Yeah, of course, yeah, see? All right, have you guys all been in a situation in a car in which you've been scared and you haven't said anything? Yeah, most teenagers have. That car accident that you guys saw was a moment like that in my life where I didn't say anything. So I advise every teenager to speak up because you guys all have a voice. Doesn't matter how cool the driver is, you know? Definitely. Always ask to either get out or slow down, even if the driver is the most popular kid in school. It doesn't matter because it could mean life or death for any of you.
When Tyler comes to speak, they ignore break time. They sit there for 2 hours and never want to move an inch. And not only do they listen to him once, but periodically they'll talk to their parents about their experience listening to Tyler's story, and they bring their parents back in future classes to listen to him again. I think what the kids come away most of all listening to Tyler is, instead of listening to an adult tell a story, you get someone that closer to their own age telling the exact same story. It's amazing on how they receive it, and I think Tyler's making an extreme impact on these teenagers about reducing accidents. And I believe he's saving lives with the way his presentation is.
I can say today that on my birthday that I learned something like I turned 16 with the knowledge of knowing, like, when I get my license or whatnot, that I have to be more careful. I have to note that it's not just me in the car, it's everyone else in the car, and I have to note that it's life or death, basically.
Usually the classes that I'm in, it's very talkative, and you can, like, our instructor always has to wait for people to be quiet, but with Tyler, it was very, it was like, it's quiet where you could hear a pin drop. It was just everyone was focused, and you could tell people really engaged on what he was saying.
Today I thought Tyler was the most inspirational person I've ever met, and went through that accident and is here and smiling to tell us his story and just to spread the word about being safe in a car. And if you ever feel that you're unsafe, just to speak out, because anything can happen, and maybe you can live, and maybe you won't be as lucky as him.
If someone were to come to me in my driving school when I was that age and tell me about that, you know, who knows if I would have gotten in the car? Who knows if I wouldn't have said, you know, slow down? Who knows what I would have done? I'm just bringing something to the table that might not have been brought, and I think that kids, teenagers, and adults too need to hear it. Life is very fragile and could be taken away in a second.